Good evening and welcome to the Return Homestead. My name is Mike and my wife Marty and I homestead 50 acres in southeastern Kentucky. Tonight we're digging sweet potatoes. We've had these things in the ground long enough, it's time to see how the harvest went. Y'all might remember a few months back I did a video of actually planting these sweet potatoes in the ground. We had to actually make these beds. We had too many potato slips that we'd purchased. So this small bed wasn't even a part of our main plan. Like so many parts of our garden this year with the remodel and other things going on, it kind of got neglected. And as you can see, it's pretty weedy. But there are some really thick sweet potato vines growing in here. We've already dug a couple of samples and it looks like we're going to have a good harvest. So we're going to set the camera off to watch us dig and get busy pulling these things out of the ground. You want me to take the top of these plants off first?
Yeah, but I have to dig the whole thing into it anyway.
So it'll make it easier to see where we're digging now.
Just set those plants aside for the goats.
Got one broken?
I don't think so. It's a shovel break.
That's why I did that sample the other day. I may need my big shovel to break this up. That's not making progress. Try that one. Get out of there.
Here's one right here. Right here.
That's the top row. Want to make sure to save all these potato vines. Goats absolutely love these things. Really good protein for them.
There you go.
These are red sweet potatoes, those are white. Try to keep them separate or it doesn't really matter?
I'll process them all.
They all have to sit for a bit anyway.
Did we get a harvest?
Yeah, that's the edge of the bed there.
Okay.
And it's sod. There's a plant right there.
There you go, clay clods. First couple of plants we checked, there was quite a bit. Now,
Yeah, we got what, 6 or 7 potatoes off of one plant.
pretty good size too.
Nice potatoes. Oh, we're hitting nothing.
Might have been too much clay.
This clay is pretty thick.
There you go. Wow. Just a big ball of clay.
Big hardy lumps of clay.
We grow clay really good.
Yeah, here at the Return Homestead, we grow some of the world's thickest clay. We had good fertility in this ground. This hillside's really never been farmed with anything. But the clay is so thick, I don't think the potatoes had opportunity to really form.
Plants grew great. Maybe that was it. Sometimes if the plants grow too well,
Right, so we grew a lot of foliage.
yeah, instead of potatoes here, because it was rich. There you go. I think those are Beauregards.
You remember what the white ones were?
No.
Oh, there's a potato way back there.
Yep.
I know some of you watching this are probably wondering, well, why would you go through all this effort for a few sweet potatoes? I can run down to Costco and buy a 50-pound bag of these things.
They taste different.
Yeah, they do. They taste a lot different. Plus, with these sweet potatoes, we can make more sweet potato slips and make more sweet potatoes. So it's a sustaining resource. You can keep going. So it's not just 50 pounds of potatoes we're after. It's a lifetime of potatoes that we're trying to get going here. And yes, that kind of productivity takes a little bit of effort. Now, don't get me wrong, we go down to Costco and buy sweet potatoes too. But if we can get our own going, so that we don't need to, save that room on the credit card for other items of more import. Such as, a new two-wheel tractor. Make tilling this ground a little easier. So we haven't hit the 100% self-sustained mark by any stretch yet.
No, we're way until we get animals and whatnot.
Yeah. And any new homesteader, and there's no way you're going to be out of the gate self-sustaining. But every day you make a few improvements on the property, you get a few new crop proficiencies under your belt.
Look at how thick that clay is. Good night.
One tiny success at a time, you get to a place where you're going to Costco once a month, then once every 3 months. And with a harvest like this, we're a little ways off from that, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
We are.
It's a nice little bunch.
Wow, that clay is thick.
Yeah, so maybe this clay is a little thick for growing sweet potatoes this year. But those sweet potatoes have done a good bit of work to loosen it up. Maybe next year we'll come back in here with a crop of sunflowers. Let those tap roots work down through here, because it's hard to grow anything in that.
Wow, that's pretty tough. And you tilled the snot out of it.
One of our chickens has been coming out more often than we knew.
Why? we got eggs in there.
How about
Oh,
that, huh?
my word.
White eggs. Well, they're white now. So she was outside the fence at least 5 days.
Uh-huh. Those eggs are no good.
No. Dispose of those.
Nice job, Astra. Look, we can grow eggs on sweet potato vines.
Woot! I don't even remember now where we grew the sweet potatoes last year. Up there where we've got them again this year? Just a smaller bed of them?
Yeah.
We got a great harvest last year. I mean, we still have sweet potatoes from
Yes,
last year.
we do. I have to freeze dry a lot of them. There you go.
More little taters there.
They're little.
That's the other thing you notice about the sweet potatoes that you grow. This is the size that a sweet potato is really best at. And we grew varieties that are supposed to be heavy producers. They produce a lot of potatoes on the roots. But the manufacturers of sweet potatoes, the ones that grow these industrially, they're looking for the biggest sweet potatoes and the ones with the longest shelf life. So it's a very different product than what you would go and buy in the store.
But you can see by the way it's bent that it was having trouble digging down.
Yeah, you can see it right here.
Mm-hmm.
Big lump of clay.
Mm-hmm.
And the sweet potato is actually bending around this lump of clay in order to get the depth they're looking for. Ooh, that's thick.
Mm-hmm. The fact they grew it all is amazing. I didn't realize this clay was that thick.
A good sign that soil is not really good for growing potatoes is when you can't even get a potato fork to go into it. So we're having to use a hay fork to try to dig these out. That's a nice plant.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously need to get some, probably some lime in here and a whole lot of hay or other amendments that will help to loosen the soil up some. I think sunflowers will definitely go a long way to help break this up. It's not a very impressive harvest off of an entire row of sweet potatoes, but it's food we didn't have in the pantry.
True.
And all of those can be used to make sweet potato slips for next year. If you guys will stick with us a little longer, we're going to keep digging here. Kind of losing the sunlight, but we're going to use every bit of it we've got.
I like the Beauregards. We'll have to try purple. I hear if you plant the purple ones, you'll always have purple sweet potatoes.
So once we get these out of the ground, we'll let them sit on the back porch for a couple of days. Dirt will dry up on the outside of them. And then we'll give them a good rub down with some gloved hands to get most of the dirt off. Once you get the dirt off of them, you do need to let them cure. The sweet potato is extremely starchy. It needs to sit in a dry, cool environment and give the sweet potatoes time to convert into sugars. That's what makes them sweet. You can eat them when they're starchy. They're just not as appetizing and your body has a little bit harder time digesting them. So anything we pull out of the ground now, we really won't be eating for several months more than likely.
Yeah, they had a hard time.
They seem to have found ways to push through some of this clay, but they're extremely weak. They're just snapping off.
Mm-hmm. We'll try purple next year.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
We like experimenting with new plants. Sweet potatoes come in really a rainbow of different colors. Most people are only accustomed to the orange ones, and if you're on the West Coast, you get the really delicious white sweet potatoes. These are true sweet potatoes too, not yams. That's really a different plant altogether. Similar looking root crop, but it doesn't have the same sugar in the yams, so they're much starchier. Oh, it is super hard clay.
It is.
That poor sweet potato managed to grow through it. I don't know if I can get it out without breaking it.
Wow. There you go.
Crazy looking sweet potato.
It's because it had such a hard time
Yeah,
getting
you
through.
can see how that thing struggled to push through the clay, almost corkscrewing as it found little creases to run through. So, looser beds for the sweet potatoes next year. Don't know where. We'll find a spot.
Raised bed.
Raised bed, there you go.
We've grown them in bags too before, and we had pretty good success with that.
Wasn't bad.
They're a lot easier to dig up, just saying.
Especially if you use a one-use bag that you're going to dispose of. You just rip the bag open and pull the potatoes out of the sod. It's not a hard thing to do. We still have some of those small bags.
Yeah. Well, the big barrels we've been using would be good for that as well,
Yeah.
because you could dump them.
So we've grown a lot out in the desert using chrysalix buckets. Those are the mineral buckets that they use for cattle. Once they eat all the minerals out, the rancher doesn't really need them. They just become a waste product for him. We drill holes in the bottom of them, make a planter out of them. We need to find a source of those here in Kentucky, though.
Right?
We're still getting to know our neighbors. We don't know a whole lot of farmers. I got a couple of guys that are offering helpful advice when we need assistance. We really need to team up with and partner up with some of the local farmers and ranchers. Get to know them a little bit better, especially when it comes time to get our cattle. We don't know anything about cattle. Marty's worked with cows before growing up. I didn't, so I have no idea what cows are about. I know you put grass in one end to get fertilizer out of the other. And that's about all I know about the machine. And to my knowledge, they haven't built a machine yet that can do all of those things and grow a nice T-bone.
Ribeye.
Ribeyes.
It's got more fat.
We do prefer those nice fatty cuts of meat.
Uh-huh.
Lots of good marbling. I'll enjoy a filet mignon, but I'd much rather have a ribeye. Guys, even if we don't get a huge sweet potato harvest, you know, I've come home after a stressful day's work, and instead of spending $60 to go into a gym, work out on machines with a bunch of other people, watch the news, get more depressed while I'm exercising, and then come running home to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner, I spent the evening out in the open, getting a little sunshine, watching the chickens fight with one another.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D. You know? This is a whole lot better way of getting your exercise and fresh air in.
And just so you know, dinner is already decided for you before you get home.
You got the ribs on?
Yes.
Nice. Marty always takes care of me for dinner. I could smell them when I went in earlier. Nice big crock pot full of country ribs.
Well, they'd have been better on the grill, but
So much easier to eat from the crock pot though.
yeah. Well, if you put them on the grill, I'd want barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce has sugar.
A lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it so stinking good.
Right?
Just in case you guys are wondering how you could possibly do without barbecue sauce and still grill, just go check out St. Louis style barbecue. I'm gonna put sauce on it. There's ways to get good, delicious ribs without having to cover them in sugar.
Is that sweet potatoes coming
Yep.
up? Oh, okay. So they did better down the hill and right at the edges of the grass. They're still pretty small.
I have a feeling our other bed did much better.
I hope so. You can't see it in the camera, but it's dusk. Camera does a good job.
Yeah, the sun's going below the horizon. Got a few more feet to go here.
Now the question is did our other bed do way better?
The other bed is much larger than this one too.
I hear you, buddy.
So even if we keep the same yield, we'll still get a good batch of sweet potatoes out.
You're almost there. Another 2 feet. Blackberries. Good thing they're thornless.
Yeah,
We should get a great harvest off of those next year.
they have really picked up.
Uh-huh. We planted them, what, 4 times in the desert?
Oh man, we plant blackberries and
They die.
baby them for months before we finally realized they weren't going to grow.
We finally got a few to grow, though.
We did, and then we packed up and moved. So those folks that bought our homestead out there in Nevada, you're welcome. Once I got all these dug out, we'll come back with some amendments from the goat pen, till this up again and kind of reshape these swales, and then put a cover crop on it to keep it covered this fall and through the winter. Next spring it should be a simple matter of terminating that cover crop, and then we can plant. Well, that's the end of the bed.
All right.
We appreciate you joining us on the Return Homestead today. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so now. Hit that bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Hit the like button while you're in there. We'll see you next time.